Hello, friends, and welcome to the Blockchain Report, where we discuss all things blockchain technology, digital assets, DeFi, NFTs, and much more. Today, we'll be going over the markets and going into some news. There's been a lot going on since last week. Um, we'll dive into it. Last week, we came to you. Whoa, that was weird. Hello. So, last week, we had the rate hike around here. On this day, you see the spike up. And since then, we got rejected. It was a kind of a nice fall from grace. We're still kind of hovering over the weekend, not really doing much of anything. But there's a lot of speculation we're going to be dropping lower. Especially, there's some red flags with CZ and Binance, and we'll cover those later on. But we'll dive into it. SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried, wants to see indictment before extradition to U.S. So he was denied bail, and oh wow, look at BitBoy with this whole team of people. So I guess they got to see SBF this morning, and oh, Crypto Keeper. Former FTX CEO SBF, who is currently facing multiple charges related to wire fraud and securities fraud, reportedly said he wanted to see the indictment against him before agreeing to be extradited to the U.S. Appearing in an emergency hearing of the Bahamas Magistrate Court on the 19th, which is today. Yeah, today the 19th. For the first time since he was denied bail, SBF reportedly said he was willing to not fight the process required for extradition to the U.S., but wanted to see all the charges against him. He spent his last weeks in the Bahamas' Fox Hill prison, a facility which previously reported cases of physical abuse against prisoners and harsh conditions. The team behind YouTuber Ben Armstrong, also known as BitBoy Crypto, reported on Twitter that they appeared in person and at the hearing to look SBF in the eyes. It's so funny. So funny. In the U.S., Bankman-Fried faces charges from the Justice Department, Commodity Futures Trading Commission, and Securities and Exchange Commission related to defrauding investors and lenders. Under his leadership, FTX and associated individuals also made millions in donations to political candidates, allegedly violating campaign finance laws. And these political donations are going to have to be sorted through and allocated for. They're going to have to donate those somewhere else or give them back to the people. So it's unclear why the former FTX CEO may not fight extradition. If found guilty on all charges, reports suggest he could face a 115-year sentence. He was returned to the Bahamas Department of Corrections custody following the hearing, where he is expected to remain until February 8th. And the funny thing is that they allowed him, the Bahamian government or their financial system allowed him to operate there. So that's another issue, is that if you allowed this, if you would have stopped it, he probably would have went somewhere else. But there's a lot of hush money involved. Officials in the Bahamas arrested Bankman-Fried on December 12th, just hours after he had conducted a series of online interviews as part of the former CEO's apology tour related to the collapse of FTX. Authorities reported SBF was originally sent to the prison's hospital wing, presumably as part of efforts to administer his medication, including Adderall and antidepressants. So we'll see how this goes. There's a lot being done on the back end, behind the scenes, with just people all over different spaces, trying to link evidence together for this guy and also people he was involved with. Because this isn't just one guy. This is a whole operation with a small team of people that was done extremely poorly. So we're going to get more. This is just kind of the initial pop and fizzle, the cool down. It's kind of like the markets. You know, you get you get these big explosions one way or another. Lately it's been down. Explosion down, sideways, explosion down, sideways, and then explosion down, sideways. Now you probably get that coming down here too. I'm waiting for this. Actually, I'm waiting for this. I'm waiting for sub 10 Cardano. Sub 10 Cardano is going to be beautiful. Yeah. But yeah, next we got the SEC asleep at the wheel. And this is a big shit show with the SEC. Yeah, Texas congressmen urge lawmakers to examine the SEC's efforts to prevent fraud at the crypto exchange. SEC was asleep at the wheel regarding how FTX Group and its subsidiaries met financial and corporate control requirements. Representative Pete Sessions said in the Saturday report on December 17th, "We need to look at what the Securities and Exchange Commission was doing," adding that SEC was asleep at the wheel for these billions of dollars that we now find out about a year later. They claim that the SEC filed charges against SBF on December 13th, claiming that he violated the anti-fraud provisions of the Securities Act of 1933 and the Securities Exchange Act of 1934. In the complaint, the SEC requests an injunction to prohibit Bankman-Fried from participating in the issuance, purchase, offer, or sale of any securities except for his own account. SEC Chair Gary Gensler, the Weasel, said Bankman-Fried built a house of cards on a foundation of deception while telling investors that it was one of the safest buildings in crypto. But you knew him. You, Sir Gary Gensler, met with Sam Bankman-Fried and knew him and didn't think to look more into it? Did the money just kind of give you some blinders? Just took some money and just put it right over his face. Said, "I can't see through these dollars. I can't see through these dollar signs. The money's just blinding me." Shit. Representative Sessions also noted that a year ago, Bankman-Fried testified at a congressional committee hearing where he was asked about the need for regulatory oversight of cryptocurrencies. Bankman-Fried replied, "It's just a matter of transparency." But you're not transparent. Can't say one thing and go back and do the other. Congressman also noted that Bankman-Fried had full access to members of Congress and the U.S. Senate. And yeah, this is, you want to have friends in powerful places, but then when you go and blow it all up and you make these people look bad, you're not going to have friends on any side. Initially, it's what it was about, getting the power to push your own regulation and stuff in the space. But then when you do something nefarious, like using customer funds, then you're going to piss everybody off. So, not surprising. And they're going after the SEC. They should go after Gary Gensler specifically. Ooh, ho, ho, ho. Need some more tea. So the prosecutors of SBF reportedly are digging into donations made to top U.S. Democrats. There's a whole list of who he was donated money to. There's a good mix of the Imperial March is playing. I don't know where. That's so funny. So he made donations to many different candidates on both sides of the aisle, but the majority have been Democrats, and by a large amount of donations. So prosecutors investigating former FTX CEO have reportedly reached out top members of the Democratic Party demanding information about the political donations made by the entrepreneur. Democratic members from the U.S. Democratic National Committee, the DNC, the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, the DCCC, and Congressman Hakeem Jeffries were contacted by SBF prosecutors for information to aid their ongoing investigation. United States Attorney Officer for the South District of New York sent an email to the Democratic Party elections lawyer Mark Elias asking for details on donations made by SBF. Similar emails were sent over to other members of the Democratic and Republican parties. And yeah, yada yada yada. As previously reported by Cointelegraph, a DNC spokesperson confirmed the decision. Given the allegations around potential campaign finance violations by Bankman-Fried, we are setting aside funds in order to return the $815 million in contributions since 2020. We will return as soon as we receive proper direction in the legal proceedings. Two other committees, DSCC and DCCC, have also reportedly pledged to set aside $103,000 and $250,000 for reimbursement, respectively. So there's going to be a lot more of this. I think it's the desk outside. Yeah, you're going to see more people being forced to kind of find out where this funding came from. This is kind of annoying. Yeah, more people are going to have to give up their donations, and we'll see what kind of goodies we can find out by having this information released. You know, where were these donations made? What did the money go to? Apparently there was a lot of money that went to Ukraine and then came back. So we don't really know the full story, but now into some really, really juicy stuff. Bitcoin dips under 17K as craziest rumors over Binance sink Bitcoin price. Bitcoin traders stay weary over Binance FUD, triggering overly bearish Bitcoin price action. So, Bitcoin FUD fuels bearish Bitcoin moves. The pair retraced its entire run to 1 month highs, courtesy of the latest macroeconomic data and policy update from the U.S., amid ongoing concerns over the solvency of largest global exchange Binance. Market sentiment showed what traders argued was a clear case of cold feet. The evidence, they suggested, simply did not stack up in bears' favor. The craziest rumors and FUD are going around on literally everybody in the crypto exchange business. Michael Van de Poppe, founder and CEO of trading firm 8, tweeted on the day. A further post expanded on who those players are. Apparently the consensus is that Tether, Binance, and Digital Currency Group are going to fall. Potentially even Michael Saylor. Clear. Got it. I have a hard time thinking that Michael Saylor will go under or allow that to happen. But the Binance thing is what's really interesting. So fellow trading, blah, 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 blah. So the Binance FUD, the reserves data makes sense. Examination Bitcoin's previous proof of reserve statement. Meanwhile, on-chain analytics platform CryptoQuant likewise found little evidence of foul play. To evaluate the information contained in Binance's proof of reserves report, we compared the liabilities presented by Binance in the report to the on-chain metric data we have at CryptoQuant regarding Binance's Bitcoin reserves, our estimation of the deposits made by Bitcoin customers. We discovered that the liabilities stated by Binance are highly similar to our assessment, 99%. It added that the data Binance supplied is about its liabilities makes sense. No amount of reassurance was enough to console Bitcoin price action on the day, however, with 17K barely holding at the time of this writing. Now this is kind of a weird statement. They're talking about Bitcoin, Binance's Bitcoin proof of reserves. This is what this looks like to me. Their Bitcoin price or Bitcoin proof of reserves. Now, what about all of their assets, all of their debts? I need a full transparency on everything, not just the Bitcoin reserves, because as we see in this opinion piece, it's very, very weird. So yeah, with Binance, everything is not fine as the financial health of the exchange grows more uncertain. CEO Changpeng Zhao has offered nothing but red flags, says Genevieve Roche-Decter. So in this video, it's a little alarming. So back in 2019, when SBF was still golden and FTX was on the lineup, on the up and up, Binance, the largest crypto exchange by trading volume, invested in the now defunct crypto exchanges Series A. Last year, it exited that transaction after SBF bought out its stake for $2.1 billion. The $2.1 billion payment, according to Binance CEO CZ, was received through a combination of BUSD, BNB, FTT, and IOUs. Presumably, only half kidding. In an interview this week, CZ told CNBC's Squawk Box anchors that, in fact, a good chunk of that payment was received in FTT, which, lest we forget, is now aggressively less valuable than an IOU, and that up until recently it had actually forgot about some 580 million FTT that Binance had left over from the transaction. So in 2021, SBF said he bought out your stake in the company. How much did he transfer to you? I remember it was $2.1 billion at the time, and it was all in FTT tokens, which are now worthless.
Let's go just back to the specifics here. In 21, Sam Bankman-Fried said that he bought you out, your stake in the company. I imagine he transferred funds to you, likely somewhere between $2 and $3 billion. Is that right?
I remember it was $2.1 billion at the time, and a big chunk of that is in FTT tokens, which are now worthless.
So he sent you FTT tokens, and you believe that the majority of the $2.1 billion was that?
It's a combination of, I believe it was a combination of BUSD, BNB, and FTT. I don't know the exact combination now, but it's probably about, I don't remember exactly, but FTT is a big chunk. And that's why we still had, even after the FTT price dropped over the last year, we still had $500 million worth of it, $580 million worth of it on the day when we transferred from the address we received a year and a half ago. We never touched it. We actually kind of forgot about it. And then we transferred it on the blockchain from that address we received to Binance.com, and that got picked up by the community. So in this industry, everything's very transparent.
Well, but my question to you is both a bankruptcy judge and potentially others could seek, like they did in the case of Bernie Madoff, frankly, to seek to claw back that money. Are you prepared to send that money to them? And by the way, I mean, and maybe this is a risk to your firm. You know, some will measure it as the value of FTT today. Some may measure it on the value of FTT at the time. So if you had to send a check in U.S. dollars for $2.1 billion, could you?
So I think we'll leave that to the lawyers. I think our legal team is perfectly capable of handling it. My expectation, though, just from common logic, is that there was a lot of spendings after that transaction in the more recent times. FTF's done to Miami, football stadiums, referees, sponsorship.
So that was a little weird, how he kind of avoids that. If that question at the end, where
in dollars could you? And maybe this is a risk to your firm.
Listen,
some will measure it as the value of FTT today. Some may measure it on the value of FTT at the time. So if you had to send a check in U.S. dollars for $2.1 billion, could you?
So I think we'll leave that to the lawyers. I think.
Yeah, it Yeah, and even this point down here, coincidentally, his liquidating the FTT was the first domino in the saga, but I digress. Is forgetting about over $500 million supposed to make me feel more comfortable in Binance's ability to properly run an exchange? It's a little weird. It's a little weird. He also says some other things that are very suspicious. I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. This is, it was on Breaking Points this morning. And this is a pretty good, sort of unbiased news perspective. So Crystal does a great job discussing this, but she brings up a good little clip right here.
Why don't you prove it with an audit by a reputable firm? This is where it gets really good. Take a listen.
But the audits don't reveal every problem. So
No, but an audit from a Big Four auditor
kind of,
would reveal that, CZ. If you could
Right.
get a Big Four auditor to say that, if you're saying that some of them don't want to work with you, that raises questions too. They don't want to work with you because you don't have the files and the data that would make them feel comfortable signing off and giving that stamp of approval?
Actually, many of them don't even know how to audit crypto exchanges. They don't really when they audit, they're very used to auditing a firm.
Does
No
Coinbase
banks
CZ?
give a hun-
Coinbase
give
has a
100%
Big Four.
reserves.
Coinbase has a Big Four auditor.
I don't look at Coinbase. We don't really look at
I think
other.
so, though.
So did you catch that? CZ claims here that Big Four accounting firms, they just don't know how to audit crypto. Problem is them, it's not me. And when he's faced with the fact that, actually, another crypto exchange, Coinbase, is audited by a Big Four accounting firm, he stammers and pleads ignorance. Brazenly caught live in a lie on air.
So that's another kind of red flag, is that you're kind of dancing around getting audited and you want to be fully transparent. This is your chance, and you're fumbling it like a freaking running back with no hands. And now this is to bring up these next two. So Binance is set to acquire Voyager digital assets for $1 billion. Previously, FTX was the largest bidder for the firm's assets. And they acquire 100% of Indonesian Toko Crypto after initial investment in 2020. This is the third licensed Asian cryptocurrency exchange Binance has bought this year as it expands its global reach. As Toko Crypto has shown signs of struggle. So this kind of reminds me earlier this year where SBF and FTX were trying to buy out Voyager and Celsius and other firms that they had massive exposure to and had basically lent a bunch of money to, and it just seems like you're picking up assets that you need to hide. And that's what FTX was doing. They were trying to hide the fact that they were involved with Voyager or in debt with Voyager and Celsius, and that they gave them fake tokens, and the interconnected web of bullshit and nefarious actors is ridiculous. And we're gonna see if Binance is actually legit. We'll see very soon, because that's what he's saying here and what he said on Breaking Points is really odd. Really odd. Really, really odd. So we'll see what happens with that and these other investments, other acquisitions. Because I feel like if Binance gets hit, we are going to be going down and wave lower for all markets. 5 things to know in Bitcoin this week. Capitulation or slow grind? We can have, yeah, look at, if you look at here, $2018, with all-time high, drop, and then final capitulation, which take months and months. And if you look right here, they're all 50, 60, 70%. 2014, get the run up. Meow. See, and then it's kind of like, here's where you'd say, okay, the bear market starts. I wouldn't quite say right here, because then you still got at least one more push up. So the bear market, the doldrums. After the initial hype, you get the sideways action for months, sometimes a year, or a year and a half. And you got final washout and sideways for months, dude, months. Look at this, 2018, spike, just kind of sideways, final washout. And so you don't even get back to all-time highs until another 3-4 years. Yep. So, same stock money lizards. Yeah, we've been down here for 6 months now. Under 25K. We haven't broke above 25K in 6 months. Interesting. So new U.S. data due as analysts predict risk asset dive. They're still predicting that the stock market is going to keep dropping lower. You can see this nice Elliott wave right here. And then the Binance FUD and the miners. You got the miners that still can capitulate. So the Bitcoin miners will start selling a lot of Bitcoin once they're not able to keep up the energy costs, or they won't be able to pay for their energy fees, and then they'll have to sell Bitcoin to pay for that. So that's another big reason for capitulation. I don't think we're out of the woods yet. We're not out of the woods yet. But one more little quick piece of news. Israeli court rules authorities can seize crypto in 150 blacklisted wallets. Over 150 crypto wallets blacklisted for alleged links to the funding of terror groups can now be drained of all funds following a ruling by an Israeli court. Now this is not good. Not good, because what can be deemed as a terror group, that's all speculation, and it can be up to anyone's discretion. Let's say the truckers last year in Canada, who people donated money to, and then PayPal and stuff, or I don't know what other ones, but if they found out that you donated money to these organizations or these campaigns for protesters and stuff, they're gonna consider it a terror group and blacklist your wallet. Kind of scary, even if you're just trying to help some people out that are protesting for a good cause. So this will have some kind of negative effects. Yeah. And this is the big thing, is that The Tel Aviv Magistrate Court has reportedly issued a ruling allowing Israel's government to seize all the crypto and more than 150 digital wallets that it has blacklisted for allegedly funding terrorist groups. Allegedly. This is bullshit. Such bullshit. Yeah. And it, in this case, it might, like right here, they've allowed authorities to seize a further 33,500 from digital wallets linked to the Islamist militant group Hamas. So prior to the court ruling, Israeli authorities had only been legally allowed to seize digital assets with direct links to terrorist activity, but not additional funds in the same wallet. Now, how would they would have to determine whether or not the groups that they're sending it to are actual terrorist groups, but this just, it leads the way into more authoritarian control in the blockchain space, and that's not what we want. We don't need this. We need people shutting down the terrorist groups, not shutting down the wallets where people's assets are on. It's not the idea of the blockchain, of crypto, where these people can come in and take money from blacklisted wallets. At least that's my opinion. But anyways, check back on the markets real quick. This is very automatic. Yeah, we just all weekend sideways, usually how it is. Until we got a little bit of support right here, but oh no, it doesn't look good. It doesn't look good. I think the biggest thing right now is we keep an eye on this guy right here in Binance, because if there is something to bring Bitcoin down to 10K or under, it's the downfall of Binance. So, with that being said, please do not have a lot of your funds on Binance, on any of these exchanges. Just take off what you can and be safe, please. With that being said, thank you for hanging out with me. I appreciate y'all, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.